This is deadly serious. But we are not going to let this pass. A woman's right to choose, reproductive freedom, is on the ballot in November. We cannot allow them to take charge so that they can institute their goal, which is to criminalize reproductive freedom.
Joining our coverage, Congresswoman Madeleine Dean of Pennsylvania. She's a member of the House Judiciary Committee. Congresswoman, I want to start by reading something that we saw about you and your colleagues in the Washington Post reported. On Capitol Hill, two House Democratic women embraced as they saw each other just minutes after the Supreme Court handed down its decision. A visibly shocked Representative Chrissy Houlihan from Pennsylvania didn't have the words to react when reporters asked, simply saying she's devastated. Congresswoman Madeleine Dean, also of Pennsylvania, in a shaky voice, said she was horrified. Devastated and horrified pretty much captures it. How are you doing?
I am here. I'm glad to be with you. And you know what? That's a moment I'll remember forever. Chrissy came in and I was standing talking to a family member about this horror of today. And she came up and grabbed me. Uncharacteristically, we just hugged each other to say, with no words, literally no words. I think she dropped her phone and I was fumbling. We had no words to express the horror that we both feel. You know, this is a day of extraordinary twists and turns. I thank you for having me on, but I'm a little dumbstruck as to what to say. As we struggle to be a more perfect union, look at what happened today. I started the day so excited about this gun bill that for the first time in 30 years, we will do something and say we will protect our children. We will protect our family members. We will save lives through this gun measure that we did pass today. And then literally, I was on the floor and got a text and say the decision is down. 50 years of rights of women and girls overturned by a corruptly seated majority on the Supreme Court.
Congresswoman, I want to ask you, I know we've talked about the bill that the House has passed. I want to ask you if this changes its prospects in the Senate, but I want to deal with the Supreme Court first. Because of today's decision, and I don't know that this has seeped in yet, but when I hear Speaker Pelosi talk about reproductive rights on the ballot, I mean, by November, it'll be clear what these full bans mean. They mean zero exceptions in cases of rape and incest. Some of them mean no exception in the life of a mother. So you've got the Supreme Court siding against that. That has the support of 93% of Americans. 93% of Americans support an exception in any ban for the life of the mother. 83 support exceptions in the case of rape and incest. The state bans eliminate all those exceptions. What do we do about a Supreme Court out of step with 93% of Americans?
We lift up the horror that is the Supreme Court. I've told you the story of my mother-in-law, who was the youngest of 6 children in Scranton. When her mother became pregnant, this is a 1930 Scranton, her mother became pregnant with a 7th child. The doctors and the family recognized that the baby would be stillborn and the mother could die in childbirth. And this was 1930 Scranton. So between the government and mandates and laws and a church, the mother was forced to go forward. The family had no choice. And the outcome was that the baby was stillborn and the mother died in childbirth. My mother-in-law never knew her own mother. My mother-in-law taught me that story to say never again. I used to tell that story, Nicole, to say, can you imagine those antediluvian days? And those days are today, thanks to this Supreme Court. The choice was taken from that family. The choice today will be taken from families. I also take this very personally. I was 13 when Roe was passed. My entire adulthood, my entire childbearing years with my husband and my family, we just understood but really valued, I knew it was precious, valued our rights to reproductive health care, to privacy in our choices. And I talked to my daughter-in-law today and I cried with her to say, I can't believe you and my other daughters-in-law, my 3 granddaughters, the eldest of whom is 10, girls and women, and let's not mistake this, it's girls too. Girls and women have been stripped through this corrupt Supreme Court of rights, basic, fundamental human rights. This will not stand, Nicole. I have a feeling you have a panel full of people who are saying the exact same thing. This will not stand. But my, oh my, what a sad, low moment for the Supreme Court of the United States.
What is the state of talks? I know that talk about the legislation that's passed the House. Does today's decision put in motion any fresh talks about how that could get through the Senate?
Fresh talks in multiple ways. You know, we passed the codification of Roe out of the House earlier this year. It sits in the Senate. And I also am a member of the Judiciary Committee, Vice Chair of Judiciary. So, of course, the talks are ongoing very rapidly. They were already going on. I don't want to act as though they weren't. About what do we do? How do we put greater guardrails on our civil rights, our human rights, our personal privacy rights? What do we do about the Supreme Court, an out-of-control Supreme Court that is so far right-wing, 3 of them seated by the most corrupt president in our nation's history, corruptly seated in 2 cases, by the way. Judiciary Committee, the legislature, we're talking about it. Very importantly, and where I have my greatest confidence is in the electorate. We have a terribly important election cycle coming up. I thought it was the most important in our election cycle pre-today, but now I know it is even magnified. I know that people of my district in the 4th Congressional District of Pennsylvania, Montgomery and Berks counties, suburban Philadelphia, they are horrified by this stealing of rights by mostly white men who would make our health care decisions for us. Are you kidding me? We will never go back, and the electors will show that. I think about the most important elections. I'm a little prejudiced here, Nicole, but Pennsylvania is called the Keystone State and has been since the founding of our country. We were the keystone of the 13 colonies. We will be the keystone again in this election cycle, and I would argue that Montgomery County will be the bellwether of that keystone. In Pennsylvania, you saw who we have at the top of our ticket, whether it is our gubernatorial candidate, Josh Shapiro, who supports women's and girls' equal rights under the law, as the banner on the Supreme Court says, versus Mastriano, who doesn't support women at all. We support John Fetterman in his bid for the Senate. How important is it that we pick up more senators who actually believe in equal rights under the law, equal rights for women and girls? This will be an extraordinary election cycle. Pennsylvania will be the one to watch.